We set out in our research to better understand the impact of some of the marketing material that's used by activewear brands in particular. So that was something that's becoming quite prominent within our social media and various other visual marketing outlets. So it was important to us to understand what the potential impact of this type of imagery might be on some of those target markets. So women are in particular targeted quite heavily with activewear imagery marketing. So our study was specifically designed to address how women respond to this type of imagery, in particular with respect to their psychological outcomes. So things like their mood, emotion, self-esteem, the types of things that could contribute to longer-term consequences. The difference with purchasing this type of content or this type of product online is you're often exposed to a lot more imagery of attractive people wearing the garments than you would, say, in a traditional bricks and mortar store where you see it hung on a rack. So it's not as threatening to your own body image because you're not being presented with an exceptional example of how this garment should look. Most activewear brands rely heavily on very toned, fit, athletic looking models. And that in itself can be quite threatening to people who perhaps want to achieve that particular objective or perhaps are not necessarily able to. In our studies, we ran a couple of studies, and what we found is that under experimental conditions, when we expose women to website material or image material from activewear brands, what we find is that they tend to feel worse about themselves and about their looks. And we were able to establish that using a variety of different measures. So we use self-report, which is very common. But we also explored implicit measurements too, which actually involves responding to words very quickly and using reaction time to estimate how people feel about themselves. So it gave us some confidence that across our couple of studies, these images, these sort of very body-focused and body-threatening imagery, does actually impact how women feel about themselves and their bodies. There's a general cultural pressure to both purchase and wear these types of garments because of how popular they have become. And not to say that they're not comfortable or meet various objectives that people are looking for when they buy clothing, but it is more to do with the nature of the marketing and how threatening it can be and how it lacks sometimes diversity or imagery that might be more representative of what people actually look like in the real world.